that MyData Global started in the second half of March, in the midst of the COVID outbreak and the lockdown, and also the increased interest in the data-based solutions. Over the 3 months on those 8 calls, we presented, I calculated, over 30 different initiatives. And today is our last release, the 8th call before the summer break, with the 6 initiatives. 3 of those are new. 3 of those are the updates on what has been already presented before, and the developments around the solutions. Just as the update and maybe a summary why we actually started those calls, was the reason that MyData Global decided to organize those community calls. Well, with the, of course, increased interest in the database solutions, the personal data being used for contact tracing, for immunity passports, and so on, we realized that, of course, there is very important discussion going on. Should the data be used for social good, or is there a risk that actually the surveillance will be imposed on us? And on the screen you see the famous, I think by now, quotation from Harari, when he mentioned to Financial Times that actually this choice between the privacy and health is the false choice, because actually we should be able to enjoy the privacy and health and look for the solutions that are empowering citizens. And of course, when saying this, Harari didn't refer to MyData per se. However, we feel that this exactly describes what we stand for the human centricity, and we believe that those 6 principles of MyData presented on the graph, interoperability, transparency, portability, individual empowerment, individual as the point of integration, and human-centric control of personal data. This is something that should guide us in finding those solutions for fighting COVID and other pandemic or other health, economic, social crisis. And MyData represents MyData Global. It's well, association, office, staff, 5 people working from Helsinki and Estonia, but the MyData community is bigger than that. Our members are present in more than 50 countries on all continents, and we have the local hub in 25 countries. So basically, we are global, and we hope, and we also present those global solutions on the call. If you are not yet the member, please join us. This is a great opportunity for you to be part of this great community. And also you can, if you feel you would like to support our activities, you can donate smaller or bigger sum. And still coming back to the summary of what has happened since March 25th, when we started the first MyData versus COVID call, I must admit that when the idea of the community call was born, it was supposed to just be one-time call, an update on what's going on in the Corona Data Slack channel. There was so much discussion, and I felt that it would be great to just organize a call to inform everyone on what is happening. And I never expected that this will be a regular initiative of this scale. With 8 calls, over 30 initiatives around contact tracing, symptoms tracing, immunity passports, data commons, and more. And as a matter of fact, over those months, weeks of active discussions, disputes, also we have now emerging thematic group. So this is now happening, and we will have update on that today. So, I'm very, very happy with this to actually go to the call to the presentations of those projects. I said that we have today 6 initiatives, 3 new and 3 updates. And the first one, the social contouring project by Jessica Pidoux, this is actually a new initiative. We haven't heard about this. It was presented, discussed somewhere in the Slack. So I would like to invite Jessica to tell us what the social contouring project is about. And just as the intro to all the presenters, please be mindful about the time. You will have the limited time of 10 minutes, as we have the very packed agenda today, and I will give you a hint when you're around minute 7, let's put it this way. And for all the participants, please put your questions or comments in chat. If we have time to take the question after the presentation, we will do so. We hope, at least with the timetable, we should have time for the longer discussion at the end. We know that it's not something that often happens because of the presentations, but I hope this will be a good occasion to do it today. So with that, I would like to give the floor, to give the mic to Jessica. Jessica, if you would like to share your screen,
Yes.
please. Yes.
Okay.
So hello, and yeah, the floor is yours, and you have 10 minutes.
Thank you. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, can see you very well.
Thanks for inviting me. So just a little bit of background. I'm a sociologist working at the EPFL in Switzerland. I am a member of MyData recently, thanks to Paul Olivier Day, who invited me because I'm working with dating apps, and I have been investigating also about how to manage data, personal data. And with him, we created a team to participate in the Versus Virus Hackathon in Switzerland. And we created this project there with other specialists in different disciplines. And the main idea was to bring a sociological perspective to the current situation with the COVID-19. So the title is Social Contouring, and the problem is that we have seen, and studies have shown, I shared in the chat a post about more details of the project and the state of the art. So we have seen that the characteristics of the populations that can live in communities, their neighborhoods, and their lifestyles are going to affect the way that the virus spreads. So we wanted to understand better how people live. It's like the blind spots we have now. We don't know what is happening inside everybody's home. So we have a simple example here. Claude works from home, lives with a roommate, visits her boyfriend, and uses car sharing, goes to the supermarket every week, and stays informed with social media. So to stay safe, she has to understand the factors that are putting her and her communities at risk and how the state can help her. So it's giving visibility to the state, but also to the person about the factors that are putting them at risk, and also to find political measures that are adapted to this context. So we propose identifying these safe zones that we call social contours. It can be a place, it can be an activity, it can be a transportation mode. So we could actually start relaxing the lockdown, but actually very situated, like in the way that people is living. So we created a sociological survey that it is online available in 4 languages. And the main goal was to understand these lifestyles. So people would answer to several questions about how they live, with whom they live, and without giving sensitive information, it remains anonymous, and they don't provide like very basic demographics, your age and your profession. But we also created general categories, so we don't identify the person. So this sociological survey would also allow to epidemiologists to evaluate the risk according to these lifestyles, but each aspect of their lifestyles. And from that, from those surveys, well, the first like explorative study we did, we gathered 1,000 questions, and with more information, we could actually cluster these answers to know which type of lifestyles are more typical in one region or another one. And moreover, we can identify, we can predict actually how the virus spreads through computational simulations. So I was doing more the sociological study, analyzing these structures of how a community lives and how they are put together at risk. And a colleague in digital humanities was prepared to do these computational simulations that we actually didn't do yet. So the long-term impact was that actually the state could have a view on the local realities, and that could later on adapt this in a multi-scale approach with other regions in Switzerland, but also that can be reused in other countries. And the idea was also that we could have a continuous update about people's lifestyle, but that is not traced with an app in automatic mode, but that it would be a longitudinal survey that would contact people again and know more about how they have been adapting themselves through the political measures that have been implemented. This is just one example of the idea of identifying these social contours. So let's say we identify 5 lifestyles, for example, a student living in a residence that is single, but also an elder that is living alone without help, without being able to go to the supermarket. So we would A, B, C, and D are these different type of communities, and we would say it is very risky to go to the supermarket because we identify in some regions everybody's going there in specific hours. So one political measure would be to distribute or divide this food supply among the communities, activate farms and little shops that would be a safer place to go. This is also not about the food supply only, but implementing time schedules on these food locations. So we would say it's safe to go to the farm in the morning for this type of community, but it is another safe hour to go to these small shops for other communities. It would, the methodology, sorry, I think I have still, yeah, some minutes. The methodology is, as I said, it was a sociological survey, so it is a form online with 8 dimensions describing a personal view about the government's measures, the circumstances of socialization, what are the resources available in each household, your working conditions, where do you get food, how do you stay updated, and how do you communicate with others, and your health state, like for example, when was your last checkup at the doctor, and basic demographics, as I said. So this is the methodology in like, well, the final project in 7 steps. We would first analyze the questionnaire responses, then characterize the lifestyles, then identify the community with basically social networks analysis, and then do the modeling with computational simulations. Then assess, this is the part where the epidemiologists would intervene to assess the risk of different type of lifestyles, and start providing recommendations with interventions like from the state, but also from the community itself. So it was also about providing the information to the community so they could we could empower themselves instead of just waiting for top-down solutions. So as I said, we built this in Switzerland, but with also people in Canada, in Netherlands during the Versus Virus hackathon. We continued working afterwards, but we didn't get the funding from the Versus Virus, and we haven't implemented fully yet. We created the questionnaire in 5 languages. The sample is from Switzerland. We identify 5 lifestyles from the Swiss French speakers, which were around 700. And we started like preparing the modeling, but we didn't implement it actually to the responses. These are the 5 lifestyles that we identify in the exploratory study: young students, working couples, independent matures, female unemployed from hospitality industry, and healthcare worker. And this is how it would look like a simulation of how the virus would spread between communities according to their characteristics. And the concept of a community is based on how similar they are in the way they live, where they go to shop, where if they have a family or not, what kind of friends they have. It's dependent on the questions we have in the questionnaire. Benefits, it is data driven, but it's under ethics that we consider less or not at all intrusive of some digital solutions that are available, but it can also, we think it could be complementary to the other solutions that are now out, because it would provide another type of visibility on the realities that an app could not provide, or that might exclude some people instead of reaching them by surveys with phones or even going to their places. And it is very situated, donc it gives the local reality in the sense of the community, and it's not only individual. And it's low cost, and the idea is, as I said, is to provide this information to the community so they can actually implement their own solutions. This is the team, the rest of the team from different disciplines: medical anthropology, mathematics, ethics, digital humanities, and e-health. So thank you. I remain available if you have questions.
Thank you, Jessica, for the presentation. Maybe you can also come back the one slide I saw before, that you're still. Is it something that also the MyData community, you are still looking for some support or help in developing the project further?
Yes, this is. I created a card in the community in the, I think it was Trello, and I put these resources that we were looking for. We needed to estimate a representative sample of Switzerland. We needed epidemiologists to assess the questionnaires and also the models that would result at the end. And finally, some developers. If we think of a big sample, then we would need a technical infrastructure that is able to run these computational simulations that we were not prepared to when we did the hackathon. And of course, some data scientists. So yeah, that's we need some expertise, and also how to implement this questionnaire in a larger sample.
Thank you so much. So you will, I understand that you will stay still on the call, and there is some comment from Ian on the chat. So I will not take it now, but I invite you to to look in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, and of course stay with us, and I hope we will still have the opportunity to come back to this. And now I would like to invite Jean with the project lockdown. I see you are here, and you can also will you share your screen, Jean?
Yes, I will.
Perfect. So please tell us what the project lockdown is about and how the MyData community can support you. And again, the same. You have 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yes, and
okay.
I must tell you, I have here the the timer. So you go.
That is fine.
Welcome.
I will try to give you a bit more margin. So hello everybody. My name is Jean-François. I go by John. I'm the CEO for the IO Foundation. We are a nonprofit advocating for data-centric digital rights, essentially on the rights that should be applied on the data of users. We have a pretty tech-oriented vision of things. We try to work a lot on providing conversations with the governments in the sense of infrastructures and how they should be designed. And one of the directions that we work on is to identify programmers as the next generation of human rights defenders. And so the project that we initiated about a couple of months ago during at the beginning of the pandemic is called Project Lockdown. The name is pretty self-explanatory, although it has shifted pretty much on the way we are orienting it. So essentially, it's a platform where we were mapping what they call NPIs, which is short for non-pharmaceutical interventions. It's a fancy word for policies, okay? That we believe were affecting or potentially infringing human rights and digital rights in different governments. We identified that a lot of them, quite a remarkable amount of them, were institutionalizing measures that, beyond the flattening of the curve, which was the argument, could be pretty problematic from a human rights and digital rights perspective. So we decided to have a look, and as well because we were not necessarily able to see what was the global impact, because the numbers, the figures are one part of the story, but how governments react to that story and what are the reactions to in terms of policies and how the policies are affecting the whole planet is sort of the whole bigger picture of the thing. So we started putting together a team, and after 2 months plus of work, we are over 50 volunteers over the world. And what we have put together is essentially, I'm going to just show here how it is. It's a map where you can observe a number of data points that we have been collecting, and that you can see how the world has been basically changing and how it would look like in the future should things not change. So our methodology is pretty straightforward. We only capture data based on some data points. For instance, Brazil, I'm going to click on it. We are using 2 categories at the moment. One is daily restrictions and as well mobility. And what we do is we codify information coming from official sources. We don't take media, we don't take any other sources except official sources. With that information, we basically encode it, and we have a legend here that basically tells you how to interpret the data. And it allows us to do 2 things. It allows you to see how things have been in the past, but also how they're supposed to be looking in the future if the governments do not change their policies. And that has a very interesting lecture, because it allows you to see how fast or how slow the world may come back to whatever normal was before. So we presented this this project to the You versus Virus hackathon that the European Commission organized a few weeks ago, and we got there was 22,000 participants and about 2,000 projects, and we got among the 120 that got selected as winners. We were runner-up in our category. It's been quite a ride. Our audience at this very moment is regular citizens, so that they can understand. I hope the motorbike on the background is not reflecting on the audio. So regular citizens who may want to have information about how things are evolving in the planet, of course, journalists so that they can tell stories about a particular situation, human rights defenders in order to be able to know, sorry, what are the states that may be potentially infringing human rights and digital rights now and in the future, and also, of course, data scientists because of the obvious use. The information that we collect is both in the web platform, but also in an open API. And the methodology, like I said, was basically getting the information from governments. We do a very close follow-up on as many governments as we can, as many territories as we can. At the moment, we have 5 organizations that have partnered with us. And we are covering a substantial amount of the planet, even though the data may not be reflecting here. There's a lot more on the background being done. So the information is essentially collected through, governments issue information. We have a community that we are building where we put all the information together. We curate the sources. And so we have this final list of NPI sources. We got a bunch of the editors who introduced the data. They codified based on a specific methodology that we have documented. And with that, we generate 3 deliverables. At the moment, we have the website, and the API is already functioning as well. And we hope to be able to issue some research as well as associated with that, because of course there's a number of elements that are very clear red flags that both journalists and human rights defenders would want to have. At this very moment, because the project is very young, we have a roadmap that is targeted towards the deliverables, just to make sure that we get the deliverables to be able to target and to provide the service to our audiences. However, on the long run, what we want is to be able to have an impact-driven roadmap. And by this is being able to turn people who are actually interacting with this information in active stakeholders to try to look back into the governments and make sure that the next policies are much more observant of human rights and digital rights. How does that transpose into the future? So despite the project starting with the COVID-19 crisis, we quickly observed that we were basically building a platform that allowed us to follow up much more data sets than just COVID-19 related policies. And so we are turning into becoming a human rights and digital rights observatory platform. We are currently working on expanding some of the data points that we have in this COVID-19 data set, and working on also starting measuring the policies that have to do with, for instance, contact tracing apps, but also the data protection laws. We are looking also into national digital identity policies and so on. The editors essentially get the information from a number of, as I was mentioning here, we get a number of Trello boards where they have all of these cards readily available for them. All the information is here collected, and they get a link that takes to this data entry interface that we are using at the moment, where we have all of the information from here. And so, for instance, I can just go to Estonia, let's say, click here, it gives me the tab, and we get all the data points that are here. Interesting, this one is empty, shouldn't be. Let me go back to something that I know is definitely over there, Brazil. Here. So we here the information, and then there's some metadata for each of one of the data entry sets, and the questions here that the data points that we are measuring. So we made quite a substantial work as well on defining properly the data points and how they are to be responded. So we have a pretty extensive guideline for the editors, basically explaining everything that they're required to know to answer each of one of the data points. The interface is pretty straightforward, and we have also worked a lot on localization. You can see here that you get projectlockdown.world is the main domain. Map center Asia. customizing the user interface so that the map can be embedded into online media and other online reports and so on. I believe I only have 1 minute left, so I'm just going to leave it there. Basically, when it comes to possible connection with MyData is the amount of data sets that we are working already when it comes to elements on data protection and the new data that we are developing on that sense. We would definitely be interested on getting in touch with developers, data scientists, and in any case, we got about 10 teams working from comms all the way to HR and also, UI UX. So any options are always available, and we are happy to listen to possible collaborations. Thank you. That was 10
Thank you
minutes.
so much for this presentation and also looking at the time. Thanks for this. There was one question actually here about the number of the amount of data available from Africa, and that we can see that for Africa very few data is available. What is the issue? What's the reason for that?
So there's a number of things. Because of policy is to only use government issue documentation, we don't use media. And when it comes to Africa, most of the sources that you can find out there are media based. We are not trying to provide a distributed source of truth. It's basically the information that you have in the data set is information that if you were a human rights defender or a journalist, you could actually take to court, because it is government backed. There's a liability and there's a legal binding situation with that information because it comes from official documents. And so in many cases in Africa, it's very difficult to source that documentation, which essentially reflects very poorly in the governments.
Thank you so much for this, and please stay with us on the call. Also engage in the with the chat, and I know that you were on our Slack. Let's continue this collaboration and the development of the project. Thank you, Jean.
I have one question. Did you
yes?
cut my screen sharing?
No.
Did you cut before? So I wasn't sharing my screen anymore.
You were sharing your screen. We saw your screen very well. Maybe, yeah, okay, there was.
All right.
we saw your screen and yeah, thank you so much. So with that, I would like to then, I see in the chat that many people participated in EU versus virus hackathon. And we also have with us Sherry Chung from Taiwan, from the Taiwanese MyData hub. I know, Sherry, that you also participated with MyLog14 in numerous hackathons, and actually the app that you will give us update on was developed on the course of the over those all the weeks and months in the spring. You told us about MyLog14 when it was still an idea at the very beginning, I think even on the first call, and then you gave us some quick update later on. Yeah, please tell us where is the project and how is it going, and see that it's not COVID-19 tool. I see that this is my personal health passport. So welcome to the call, and also for you. I give you 10 minutes to tell us where are you with the project and how we still can support you in improving this. Welcome, Sherry.
Hi.
And we see your screen, yes.
Okay. Thank you. So hi, I'm Sherry from Taiwan, and I have counted that this is the fourth time I share the project MyLog initiated by MyData community in this call. And today, it not only I want to introduce you not only the MyLog app and also another new project called Logboard, which can combine to help the medical staff to build a personal health passport. So we are not make the MyLog to only a COVID-19 related tool. We want to make it to become my personal health passport. And what is MyLog? So MyLog is composed by two components. One is MyLog app you might be familiar with. It's for general users and it can record the symptom and body temperature of your own health. And without no cloud collection, you can control your own data. Our beta app are already launched on the Google Play Store, and the iOS version is under review. And we're almost there. We hope we can launch the iOS version in next week. And the second component is Logboard. Logboard is created for medical staff, and it uses visualized data dashboard to provide the supporting information recorded by MyLog for medical staff. So if you use MyLog app to record your own health data once needed, you can share your record to the medical staff, and they can view the statistics of your record for the past 14 days. Both MyLog app and Logboard is compliance with MyData government framework. And Logboard can help medical staff to see the data which users shared, and it will use one-time URL, and all data is deleted automatically after 72 hours. User can manage and give consent to share their data to the medical staff. The medical staff can analyze and review the data for analytical and for the research purpose. And this is MyLog. You might see this slide for many times. It's very easy to use. You can, with few clicks, you can easily log the app to record the body temperature and the symptom you have, like if you have coughing or you have other symptoms similar to COVID-19. You can also snap capture a photo to record your life, which will allow you to remember what you have done in the past few days. And for the past months, we joined the code vs COVID hackathon in March, and we joined the EU vs virus hackathon in April. And for the last month, we also joined 3 hackathons. I didn't write another one in Taiwan. So one is the Startup Week and TechStar co-host hackathon. We got the 3rd place. And another is the hackathon co-host with the American Institute in Taiwan. And also we won the top 5 prize in the co-hack. And also we got a positive response from Audrey Tan. And she said she is very like our idea. And we hope we can introduce the MyLog to her face to face. And now the MyLog app and Logboard are all supported in 4 languages: English, French, Japanese, and Chinese. And we also made a demo video for the French version. So let me put a link.
Bienvenue au sein de l'équipe MyLog. Selon les scientifiques de l'Université de Harvard, la période après la pandémie risque de durer 12 voire 18 mois. Nous avons tous besoin d'une solution qui nous assure une protection adéquate contre une infection virale.
And thank Paul Wang to make the French dubbing, and thank you. And the French, the Japanese version, the Japanese introduction video is in progress, and I would like ask Dixon to help with the Japanese version. And then, so for now, what is the next step for MyLog? So MyLog is not only just a community app. In next week, we are going to bring our solution to Taiwan CDC, and we hope they will like our project, and maybe they can make MyLog to the official recommended app for everyone to use. And MyLog is not only for Taiwan, it's not just for Taiwanese, it is also for global citizens. And it's not just for COVID-19 tool, it's a health passport. We want to extend the tool to the chronic disease patient like heart failure or diabetes patients and more. And MyLog is not just an app, but it is an open source MyData operator framework implementation. So I would ask you all to help us to leave your feedback and leave your comment on our white paper. And the link of the white paper is here, and I will also pass the link on the Slack channel. And thank you for listening to the sharing, and thanks all of you who have joined the project and all of you who have give us suggest and give us feedback. We will keep developing the MyLog, and we will bring the MyLog to more people. Thank you.
Wow, thank you and congratulations to your work. Thank you for sharing for the first time the development, but of course the amazing thing is actually to see the development and to see how the project evolved and how it improved and how it is now a ready product, a ready service to be actually deployed. And also like you mentioned on the first slide, not only the COVID app, but something bigger, something that can be used also in this new normalcy. And it's also amazing that you are looking for not only to deploy it in Taiwan, but also to bring it to global. And I think I'm not mistaken if I can say on the whole global MyData community that we are very proud of you, and congratulations on winning the hackathons, but also on making sure that this is also something that actually can be used and improve our life. So thank you so much. I see on the comments that there are congratulations to use, and also that Dixon said that the Japanese version, I think we will still wait a bit because Akio is still busy. So is there any comment or any question to Sherry? That we still have 3 minutes. So we still can use it if you would like to. So I understand, Sherry, that you would like us, I mean, MyData community, to comment on the white paper. Will you post it then on the Corona Data channel or also in the chat here?
Okay, I will post the link on the Corona channel on Slack.
And what's your deadline for the comments? When would you like people to contribute?
Because our app is will almost launch on iOS version, so I hope the comment can maybe the data maybe next week or next week. Yes.
So basically, we should, if we have something to comment,
yes.
some
but
opinion
you can
to give
still
an improvement.
comment after next week. So all comments welcome. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. And also Ian sends the greetings and congratulations that the app looks great. So we are now looking forward, maybe we'll have a chance to use it. So thank you, Sherry, for joining us today. Please stay with us still on the chat. And with that, I would like to then bring us back to Europe, to Sweden, and invite Lal Chandran, who was also with us, I think, somewhere in April on the call presenting the MyData for Life initiative. If I'm not mistaken, that's also one of the product of one of the hackathons, and also something MyData with the MyData brand. I remember, Lal, that when we spoke the first time, you said that possibly the app could be deployed on 5th of June, and actually 5th of June is tomorrow. So yep. I'm wondering what was your way from April through May until now, and what has happened, and where are you, and how we can still support you. So please, the floor is yours, and again, 10 minutes for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So there's a pretty much give a status of where we are. So just to give you a little bit of a background about the Data for Life initiative, there's an initiative, an open source initiative formed between MyData Sweden, AGene, and iGrant.io. Just to give you, what we are targeting is pretty much what we have seen post-COVID is pretty much like every government releasing their own app. And that came in with a lot of privacy and surveillance concerns. So what we address as a problem statement is pretty much addressing from the citizen point of view of the fear of being infected, fear of being tracked, and also the lack of freedom of movement. And what we do in MyData Data for Life initiative apps is provide a risk scoring and alert mechanism while protecting privacy at the same time being able to get the data as an insight for authorities and institutions. To give you a little bit of our journey. So we came second in Sweden in the Hack the Crisis. We came in top 10 in the global hack, and we also participated in the EU virus. Of course, we didn't win out there, but we did make a very good insight. We got a lot of very good insights from different health professionals, and we got very good also inroads into some of the regions in Sweden following these three events. Essentially, what we tackle is the trust from a citizen point of view, so that citizens can actually feel confident about data. So promoting data literacy is what we are after. Providing the insights so that the right action can be taken by institutions and authorities, and providing the right means so that citizens can actually take effective measures, whereby we are able to harness the power of many to solve some of the pandemics that we are in. And this is, again, not just for COVID, it's very much about any kind of health issues. This is very much a very solution overview. So what we are targeting from, say, MyData perspective and the say data perspective is addressing the data privacy from a transparency and control perspective. Every single thing that we do is very much data regulatory driven, namely the GDPR, with a bunch of things addressing in there. And then last but not least, every transaction, every consent, etc., is fully auditable for any third party. On the right side, what you see is very much the functionalities. What we have is very much a risk-based ISO 31000-2018 approach to provide recommendation to individuals when it comes to any kind of, say, risk to pandemics such as COVID. What we collect is very much a personal data like age and DNA data, historic location data, proximity data tracing, contact tracing, and we have made every effort in every way to comply to the privacy, the best-in-class privacy as such. At the same time, trying to really get a balance where we can actually also make use of the data while being transparent about it to the users. As part of one of the hackathons, we've also introduced the verified credential mechanism, so that you can also upload your health certificate onto the app. So you can also use the app's QR codes to, for example, exchange it to any concerned authorities or while you're traveling, etc. The backend information is very much used for hotspot locations and area ranking. And every single thing that we do, as I mentioned, is very much providing the consent mechanism at the attribute level. This is the bunch of technology stack that we have used. I'm not going to go through that, but I'll leave you to have a look at it if your time permits. I'll be sharing this deck, of course. Our journey so far is very much, I'll focus very much on the progress that we have achieved so far. So as part of the hackathon, it was very much like a web-based system. So what we have today is very much it's a beta app ready for app stores like Android and iOS. We have it in the test flight. We have consciously decided not to put it yet on the Play Store or App Store because we are really searching for a sponsor who actually want to roll out in a couple of regions in Sweden. But we are operationally ready for selected beta user tests, subject to getting a sponsorship around it. Because what we realize also is that if you want to really succeed out there, we really need to have the health authorities or health, say a region, etc., backing us. We've also published a legal standpoint, and all these documentations are openly available. I'll also be sharing the links for that. The wish list for this year is very much being able to actually beta roll out to selected regions in Sweden. And of course, we are very much open to anybody who actually want to take this code, white label it, or use it the way you wish. We're willing to support that track as well. We are ready to go live again, provided we get the sponsorship, because it requires really a good backing if we really want to succeed out there. We will also be openly publishing the hotspot area ranking and personal area ranking, and also adopt MyData Common as the data model in the backend. Today for the whole stack, the Data for Life is based on iGrant as the data operator. We hope to cater for multiple data operators in the future. So we will also be adopting some of the interoperability and standardization work that we are carrying out as part of the MyData operator track. I'll give you a quick demo, but the code is over here. And you can also see a bit of video, etc. And you can also see the documentation of docs.dataforlife.sc. So let me very quickly give you an overview of the app itself. So on the right side, you see the dashboard. So this is after once I log in as the administrator. This is the dashboard I get into. Okay, I'm able to actually add different patients. I can also allow the citizens to exchange their health locations data or health data of infected patients, for example. On the left side, I have the app. So this is the application in an iPhone. So what we have is pretty much like a very easy way to log into it via a mobile phone. So the reason why we chose mobile numbers very much, it's because it's global. And all the things that we do, we have taken a very global approach to development. So it gives us a token. And then once I confirm, I'm able to log in. So as you can see, as a user, I'm able to actually see the various hotspot locations. And then the very small icon over here is a MyData icon. So that's where, as an individual, I'm able to have full visibility into every different usage purposes for which my data is going to be used. And of course, I can enable everything. I can also do it at the lowest granularity level, at the attribute level, for example, as such. So once the usage purposes is all set, I can perform the various risk analysis. I can download my data. I can delete my data, etc. So pretty much every single thing around GDPR, and all the logs are clearly visible and logged in a distributed ledger, which makes the entire thing trustworthy. So once the data is being shared, I can perform a risk analysis. I can perform a self-screening, for example. I've already shown it last time. The only difference now is that we have a proper app to do that. I can also add different immunity certificate, test results, health certificate, etc. I can enable contact tracing data. So this is where the DP3T protocol is enabled. I can also add different location, either by manual entry, or I can connect to a telecom operator, Google service, Apple service, Facebook service, etc. And once I do that, I can do a risk analysis, and I get recommended. And I can also connect directly and get connect to certain test providers. I get notifications whenever there is any kind of, let's say I've been to a particular hotspot, I get notifications for hotspot tracing. I can also get notification for contact tracing, in which case I have the recommendation to go and perform the risk analysis again. And as I said before, I also have the profile data. This is a QR code that could actually be used for data exchange to any interested parties where they're interested in knowing about your health status. So that's pretty much like a very, very quick overview of Data for Life. For those of you who are interested in the, say, solution stack, this is pretty much like what we have actually done with iGrant and added the application part of it. So the white batches are pretty much what the those things that are specific to Data for Life, and some of the things are coming from the data operator stack that we have built with iGrant and Tidy. And these are just for information, and that's pretty much my briefing.
Thank you so much, Lal, for this presentation. It also looks impressive, and I hope that there will be an opportunity to deploy it, to find a sponsor. That's one of the applications will be successful. And there is the quick question here. Someone spotted the same what I saw in your application. The natural immune, the number or the level of those naturally immune, it was pretty high. It was like 45%. And the question is, how do you measure those this naturally immune?
Well, that number is pretty much a demo number.
Okay.
Just to
Right.
give you a feel of like these are the kind of information we could actually be collecting from different participants or citizens. Just having gone through a immunity checking or antibody testing, the way it works, at least in Sweden, is that you get tested, and then if you are naturally immune, so immunity could actually be resulting because you're naturally immune, or it could actually be because you've been infected before. So that those kind of data could be used for authorities to understand where they stand, and also even to say get services from individuals. So let's say if you want to actually employ somebody into elderly care and things like that, you could actually be using these kind of health passport data.
Thank you, and again, thank you, and good luck. And of course, while you're on Slack, very active, so it's easy to connect with you for those interested to get engaged or get informed. And this will now be a good bridge to our next presenter, who is joining us from Germany, Sascha Gartenbach. I was also presenting on one of the, if not on the first call, about the data contact tracing solution in Germany, and it was a journey. I understand, and we would like to hear about your lessons learned. What are the identified barriers that you had to overcome? And well, in many, I don't know if there is any country that has already the solution really implemented, working, and it's effective. We got the news today here in Finland that we should have the app, which is now under pilot in one of the region. It should be usable in August. So let's see how this will work. But yeah, we would like to hear from you, Sascha. What are the lessons learned? What was the path, and what can you advise us?
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving the space to talk. Yeah, let's spend the next minutes like for a quick recap, but then also the lesson learned. And I think it is important because there was so much learning, condensed learning in the past. It's almost like 10, 11 weeks now. And yes, I think we have been on the call like for one of the first calls about COVID. Just to recap quickly, what we have done is, so very early, and that was mid-March, we started to develop a COVID app based on our core technology that we developed with VIA Anyways, which is like, providing the space to manage personal and sensitive data for the data owner, but also for organizations most effectively. So it was very easy for us like to start developing or going to step and to develop data privacy preserving app for COVID that is following the virus and not the people. So what we did very fastly, very quickly, we developed an app to actually a really good stage. So usability stage, we started off with geodata, then geodata was hotly debated, not being a good choice because it is like, it's data that is not allowed through those data privacy premiums, especially in Germany, but also in Switzerland. And then we started to develop with PEPIT in the beginning, but if you have followed it closely, PEPIT was a kind of, I will not say scam, but it didn't really took off. And then we switched to TP3T as this becoming the leading protocol or backend system in Europe, and that's also the current stage where we are now. So, and what we have done, we developed the app, that allow you to track your status, but also your symptoms, your age, and then obviously decide if you want to like share the data or not, especially if you tested positive. We also have like the full test process integrated into the app with, so now with one test lab, Dr. Riesch in Switzerland. And then we also working on ideas around the health passport or your immunity passport that would allow you basically to prove your your status, you know, especially if you're vaccinated or if you tested positive or negative, and then to show this one through a QR code, like at work, or maybe once you travel, like once you have done your pre-booking, or even in a social environment, going to a football match, and basically what would allow you to either enter or, yeah, and in the worst case not. And that's something we developed. And what happened to Germany, and I think that's an interesting case now of those have followed it quite closely. There was a decision being made by the German government that basically an app is going to be developed by SAP and Telecom, where SAP is having the lead of developing the app. So, and what happened then is that we have been called by the health minister, Mr. Spahn, who was informing us that basically SAP and Telecom are the one that going to develop the app, which was surprisingly, even for SAP and Telecom, as we learned. So they just got informed like 24 hours ago. But then what happened is they were seeing the app, they saw that everything we developed so far is live, and then they decided to basically work with us. And something is noteworthy here, just highlighting it. Before we started, or when we started to develop an app, we also decided to pull together an initiative, and that's the initiative Healthy Together. And let me spend a few words on this one. What we have done here is we're saying, look, the whole Corona crisis is something that is hitting the economy quite badly, and especially the startups quite badly, because there was no, let's say, health package or like health package or security package that was like, it was designed for startups. And we said, look, it must be in our interest to go through those crises as fast as possible and develop a solution that is helping to manage the crisis as fast as possible. So we started to pull together the Healthy Together initiative, which obviously is also supported by MyData. And with the Healthy Together initiative, we were able to bring together more than 400 partner, mainly coming from the startup industry, but also like from medical institutions, universities, labs, other tech companies that were working with us. And the Healthy Together initiative obviously then was selected together with SAP to develop the app. And that's where we are now. Like we have many people like with SAP doing all the front end developments, defining the processes, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of what we have done in the app is reused. And that's actually good news, because like it's all about like having the solution ready and rolling it out. The last date we have here is to go live in June 15. That is the launch date that is planned so far. So what is the lesson learned, or basically the key takeaways of the last weeks that we have learned? So let's start with the most obviously is the government decision making. Like this one is very different from an economic decision making, and that's, I think for us it was like very important to understand, also big learning. It's like it would be too risky to just rely on the government of making a decision in your favor. The whole dynamics and the whole public interest of COVID and technology was extremely high in media. It was debated, it was discussed, and that basically was causing a behavior by politicians that we were talking to that was like unexpected. You know, like we have been talking to government in Germany, in Liechtenstein, and Switzerland. We have seen responses that we would not have expected. So with that in mind, I think it is important to ally outside the government, the politics, and have people helping you to open doors, you know, like, and to get an entry into it. And what we also learned is like be kind of like provocative. That's something we have done through media. Like we were aligning with media a lot because that was the only way that was helping us to get awareness and to get attention from politicians. We were writing emails, we called them, like we did a lot of things, and it didn't work. But what worked really, really well is it was our communication strategy, you know, like being mentioned in all the most known German media. We have been mentioned at Financial Times, at Reuters, at New York Times. Like we had a lot of press clipping, and we had a whole team aligned up. The second thing, and what was also really, really important, is like the value adding and trusted partner. As I said, like we had the initiative Healthy Together. And with Healthy Together, we were able to build this really strong partner network. And we now have like more than 400 partners. And we very fastly developed this one. Like I think in 2 weeks, we had more than 200 partners. Now we have more than 400 partners across Europe. So the Healthy Together initiative is also present in Austria, in France, in Spain, in Italy. And that was like, on one hand, very important for us, like to, let's say, to bring technology onto the app that we were not experts for. For example, extended symptom tracking, or the whole process of test bookings, and then the test procedure, displaying the results, the validation of it is something that we are not experts for, but we are partnering very fastly with them to get the functionality onto the app. And this one was really good, and everything we communicated like onto the outside was through Healthy Together. And then I think that was really important is the third point, that communication and content actually is king in such an environment, in such a crisis. But I would say that that is valid also for general approaches. So what we learned, being present, constantly present, having a kind of like a campaign laid out for the weeks, that was like helping us to get a lot of attention. And a communication strategy is also very important to create trust of what you are doing. And we also had the communication or a campaign plan that would help us to get to many million downloads in Germany. And as you've seen, like as you compared with other countries, and that's what we did throughout the time, I think the most successful country so far is still Iceland, with I think close to 40 or around 40% of downloads. And that's a number which is suggested to be used. I think it's like 60%. And we had this communication strategy like lined up and everything like prepared. And also this one is now adopted by the German government to get to these numbers of downloads as they learned. That's really, really important here. And that is also the foundation for a very strong community engagement. And I think this one is clear now for everyone, because it was like one of the most critics that other initiatives have gotten, or like other apps have gotten. Like, it must be open source. It ideally has an open roadmap where people can follow and also can vote of what they would like to see with the upcoming releases. And they also appreciate a very clear communication of what to expect, how is the data being used, and basically tailored and targeted for like different groups of people. And that's also something we took back to the government, where we were able to design an adoption council that is basically helping to define and set the communication for the different groups that you must talk to. Yeah. So this, in a nutshell, I would say for us, the pretty much the key takeaways, it is less about the product. I think obviously it's also important the technology you're using, but in that particular context, like all the other aspects, like the stakeholder management, that you're creating a strong partner network outside of your region, ideally cross country, and the whole communication and community engagement, that was so much more important to get off the ground and getting the awareness you need and attention you need to be a dominant player here. Yeah. And we did not attend it to any hackathon. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sascha. Did I understand correctly that the app should be deployed on 15th of June, you said?
Yes, that is the plan. I think they're currently
in Germany.
In Germany, yeah.
And so, in the whole Germany, or one of the land?
No, it's in whole of Germany.
Oh wow! Okay, looking forward to that.
At least that's the latest information we have gotten from SAP. Yeah.
All right, we will follow. Exciting times, and I wonder how all this will develop. There was the question actually about you mentioned immunity passport. There were the discussion on the chat. Should we call is it about the immunity passport? Is it about the health passport, health certificate? And there was a question, what in the German context, what is meant by health passport?
So it's still very hotly debated, right? Like in the beginning, we were calling it immunity passport. We switched it over to health passport. Like the health passport will not be in place with the first release. I think that's important to understand. It's simply about the contact tracing and the symptom tracking. I think if there's going to be a health passport, it will be in the future. So we were talking outside of SAP, we're talking actually with a couple of companies, and there's a lot of businesses who are seeking for ways to track the COVID infection status for employees, but also for guests, in order to mitigate the risks. You know, like for business, it's very critical. Like if there's someone of the employees or maybe visitors or partners, like being in the house, being tested positive at a later stage, it might have an impact on the whole business. So they are looking for ways, and we have a couple of conversations right now. But we also have to understand that this one in particular is a very sensitive topic. I also learned there's some really good approaches through QR scans or QR approaches. Even in Singapore started off the Bluetooth tracing was not a success. They turned now to kind of like QR code, let's say, tracing solutions. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So the discussion on the health report, health passport, and so on continues. And as said, we will. I mean, I think all eyes of the whole of Europe will be on Germany. We'll learn from your experience, and great. Thank you for being with us today and sharing. And now, actually, also exciting times. So we started the MyData Corona Data community on Slack in mid-March. It was all established by Paul Oliver de Hey, who simply opened the channel, and it quickly became very dynamic place of exchange, sharing, discussing, developing. Also, a lot of connections were developed over those weeks, and we're very happy to see you all cooperating, finding your partners for projects and so on. And yes, for a couple of weeks, we were actually also trying to find the structure for all those developments. And now we are in the moment where the new thematic group of MyData is emerging, the MyData for COVID-19. And I would like to invite Isabelle and Casandra, who are the co-leaders of this to-be or emerging thematic group, to tell us what is it about and what are the next steps and what would you expect from us, or what are you wishing for the next week or two. And yeah, the same for you, as we are, we are not running out of time. We're very well on time, but just to close to answer some questions. So please.
Can you see my screen, Caroline?
Yeah, we see your screen. We see your screen. Now we see the presentation. Yes.
Okay,
so Isabelle,
great.
Please, the mic is yours.
Yes, thank you. And after discussion with Casandra, because it's short, I will present this alone. And as you mentioned, Caroline, it's about a new thematic group we would like to establish, potentially for a short period of time, because COVID-19 hopefully will not be there forever. And so that's called MyData for COVID. And I would like to, in this presentation, to explain why we think it's important, what is it that we want to do, and how we want to do it. And you see the group of co-leads. A lot of what you see in this presentation has been worked out already together with Casandra, with Ian on the data commons part, David Calvi as architect, and Lan as well, related to the work he did with the Data for Life. And Dixon agreed to join us lately, and we very much appreciate that. And we are still also looking from somebody from the US, because the idea is here truly to be global. So why do we wanted to start this? We have about 3 to 6 months left of a window of opportunity to increase the visibility of MyData as a global organization. I think we've seen a lot of great projects, I think with a lot of huge value, and just today, but still very much in different countries at the country level. And from a MyData perspective, where we are global, it's important we can show the value of MyData as a global organization. And for that, we really want to focus on a common problem and the needed solution. And I'll describe that a little bit more later. To do that, and we really think that there's a huge value in MyData by joining forces across the different channels and the different country. So it's not just about one channel, it's about building on top of all the work that has been done, like all the reference model around MyData operator that we would like to instantiate for COVID-19, supported by governance and policy that have been developed across different channels, use the data from different apps that have been developed within the MyData partners across different regions, and complement all that with all the work that has been done around the Corona project management stream around data commons, and also all the great work that has been done around design and communication in design stream. So it's really the idea, let's join forces and make something which is truly on the map for MyData as a global organization. Now, what is it that we want to do to actually have an impact? It's important first to agree on the problem that we believe needs to be solved at the global level. And so we have that pandemics, which has created confinement measures, mobility restriction, which in turn have impact on economy and on health. And what we all want to solve is how to limit the contagion, how to make the appropriate decision, certainly for authority, while minimizing the health risk, but also then mitigating the negative impact, certainly on economy. And how can we deliver a mobility status? If you look at the left-hand side, you see that there are a lot of applications that have been developed, and we have seen some of those one today. And so the whole idea is to combine all those data, medical record data, contact tracing, status tracking, but also social control that we've seen this morning, also the data from the lockdown project. Whatever, it's important to help solve those three questions. Also working status may be important. And to bring all that together into that, what we call that MyData, interoperable, and that's very important. We want to make sure that whatever is done there can be reused across the different operator across region. A platform which is interoperable, but also human-centric, and it's full of data that we can reuse to help us, to help people to take better decisions. And so taking all those data from the left-hand side with the agreement and permission, obviously because it's human-centric, of the individual to actually build that COVID data profile that could, again, with agreement of the individual, be put into data commons at population level, out of which it is possible to derive, with strategic segmentation in the data commons, to derive the right segment of population and the right decision. Linked to that, there would also be something that we call for the moment mobility score, whatever it is, but it's something that would allow the people, if it's required and with the agreement, that would allow them based on a requirement to show that they have the score which allow them to travel or even to travel within their own city. And all that supported by governance and policy. That's the first high-level idea on which quite a few people have been working so far. Obviously, we would want to actually validate that with more people. Now, the way we think we should move forward on that, and it's very, very ambitious. At the same time, it can have an impact outside of the COVID pandemic. We may expect other endemics to come in the next 5-10 years. So it's not the last time we are going to have mobility restriction, or at least control. So it could be quite useful outside of just the COVID. So we first want to look at the technical feasibility by designing an open source specification to ensure data portability, then work on prototype. That would require them to be validated at business technology level and have additional governance component. And then we could actually start to work on deployment per country or potentially per industry. Some of the idea that we start to develop is, can we develop that city per city? Because they may have a mobility issue, but also can we discuss with organizations like IATA? They have a global problem. If we can work as a global organization, providing similar instance of the solution with different technology, but the same data interoperability, then we really are on the map as MyData. No, we really want to make sure that it is a global effort. So we've started with a few people. No, we want to make sure that we can have as many people interest on this. And it's as much health as mobility issue, by the way, probably even more a mobility issue than a health issue. So we've been doing quite some work, but we would like to validate that into our first workshop. And the proposal is to have that workshop next week, Friday, from 2 to 5. And there's been already some note on that on Slack. And it's really to consolidate on the ID, it's further generate on the ID we've started and say, well, does that make sense? Are we missing something? We wanted to consolidate that into a draft and then put a roadmap. We don't have a huge amount of time, but I think it's still good enough. And we want to actually validate that by July with another workshop so that we can finalize our charter for the thematic group and push further on the work. By the way, we are working on this right now. We're not going to wait July. We're already busy. We've been quite busy on this. And so we're really looking for further input, support, ideas, whatever you can bring. By the way, the workshop registration information will be announced tomorrow by Caro, I think, and will be posted on Slack with more precise ID. But in terms of timing, it would be for next week, Friday afternoon, CET. Now, we really need your support from different experts across the community. It would be great to have business analysts with knowledge about data architecture and happy to work on specification, building on a lot of material that exists already and learning, by the way, from all the work that has been already done across a lot of solutions. Also would be great to have support around technical skills, around the verify credentials, the ID, all the knowledge about the operator reference model, because it's very important we follow that around data commons. And then it is also important to have input on governance policy expertise as well, and very important communication. I think Sascha mentioned communication is king, absolutely, very important, but also fundraising. We will not be able, as MyData, community and global, to do this if we can't get some funding, public funding, but also private funding. And so we really are looking for that. And so if you are interested, please join us in Slack MyData for COVID-19. This is really about that very specific program and delivery. It's not about sharing information and all that, which should remain in the all the other channels that exist and should remain in existence. This one may not be there in 6 months. We hope it will, that we will have more deployment, but it's very, very focused. So as I mentioned, the workshop for going into digging down about the IDs and what we want to do will be announced tomorrow. And with that, we are thanking you. And again, you see the list of the people who have been working on this for the last few weeks now.
Thank you so much, Isabelle, for the presentation and invitation. And as you said, the more information will be shared on Slack tomorrow. And there is, we see your screen just for the record. There is the question from Moira in regards to the health data group, that health data group has ongoing funded projects for patient-centric open database. Okay, no, it's databases plus close to major sponsor for our event. If you wish to create a new separate thematic group, what is the funding source for a new thematic group? And also Moira is happy to discuss this cooperation between the groups in the upcoming health data meeting on June 15th. So if you can comment on that.
Wait a minute. So, because I'm just reading the question, if you wish to create a new separate thematic group, what is the funding source?
What is the funding source? Yes.
That's a very good question, Maura. The first, it's self-funded as a start for what we want to do as the functional specification. No, the idea is obviously to go to private funding. For me, this one being potentially more financial mobility, economical issue. I think the people that would be more willing to pay for this would be more people impacted by that, like IATA, like cities, like people in restaurants. I don't see this very much as medical and health topic. Yes, we have health data, but we have many other data. So I don't think people in healthcare will be ready to fund this. It would be more people with financial impact on this. And very happy to discuss as well in the health data topic, Maura. But I think we need to be open and realize that it is more economical and financial created by health, but bigger than that.
Thank you so much. And of course, we are also aware that there is because of the thematics, because of the, specific of COVID-19, there will be the overlaps with the health data group and also, having Casandra on board for COVID, we will make sure that we are seeking synergies and not trying to step on somebody's toes. And of course the cooperation also with the design group, with the data operators. This will be also.
And if there is any concern of anybody, please let me know, because that's not what we want to do. We just want to actually make sure we leverage up the work, bring forward whatever result. And Maura, if there is any specific concrete deliverable you believe are relevant here, more than happy to discuss. I'm lazy by nature. I don't want to redo work that has been done. So please let us know.
Thank you so much. So you can mark everyone in your calendar the Friday 12th for the workshop if you can join us. And of course, if this is really of your interest, we planned a set of 2 workshops, and it would be best if you can commit to both. And as said, we will publish more information. I have actually, I must admit, I have a call with Isabelle tomorrow, so we will shape this workshop and make the announcement. Thank you so much, Isabelle, and thank you everyone again, all the presenters, all the audience joining us here in the call, joining us on Twitter. I would like to close this call again with promoting MyData Global. You can join us as the individual member or as the organizational member if you liked what you saw, if you like the energy, if you like what we do, and if you're committed to our mission of making human centricity a new normal. Please don't hesitate to join. If you also, as the other non-for-profits, we are of course affected by the current situation. So if you would like to support us, there is now a chance for making a small donation. This is open until 19th of August. And me as leading this call, but also the whole team of MyData Global, we would like to thank you all for being with us. Of course, keep following us on social media. And yes, this is the last call before the summer break, but and someone was joking on Slack if COVID is taking break during the summer. Well, it seems so a bit. At least it's slowing down. We are of course aware that this is not the end of the battle, and even if hopefully there will be no second wave, still the virus is circulating around the globe, and as the global organization, we will do everything to support, to help fighting it. If there is a second or third wave, our activities will be more relevant than ever. And now we have already so many solutions, and they're just getting better and better. And in case nothing happens there, well, we know that there might be some other crisis, and we will depend. And this crisis showed that we are dependent on the personal data. What will happen during the summer? Well, we will have the workshop for the thematic group, 12th of June. 16th of June, there is the spring general meeting for the members of MyData Global. And we also start preparing for the online conference, which is still it's still an idea and it's still a concept, but we hope to come with more information by the spring general meeting. And the conference should happen somewhere late November. It will be the online conference because we believe that this is the best thing to do in 2020. So all our regional events are canceled, but we stay and we are active and dynamic. So with this, thank you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the summer, and yeah, let's be connected on MyData Slack, Corona Data general channel and all. Thank you so much.